At 26, I was genuinely terrified of getting older. First, I felt uglier, a lot uglier. I look at pictures of me from when I was 24 and think, wow, the collagen is just gone, like a physical decline. I know, ridiculous at 26. Second, I felt like a loser, like a failure for achieving nothing in my life. Third, I was stuck at a job I didn't like. I was completely paralyzed and I didn't have the courage to change it. I felt like my best years, both in look and in life, were slipping through my fingers. I want to tell you the story of how I got from that place of fear to where I am now. I'm 28 now, by the way, which is genuinely the happiest and the clearest I've ever been. Yeah, 2 years can change a lot. Let's be real about one of the biggest fears, the physical part. A lot of pressure women feel about aging comes from societal expectations and, let's face it, comments you see online. Things like 44, expired milk, and TikTok videos of 10-year-olds applying tons of makeup, skincare products on their face. Things like that really fuel insecurities and fear of getting old. And if we look at it biologically, for thousands of years, youth has been linked to fertility and the ability to nurture the next generation. And that biological link hasn't really changed. So naturally, across the various factors, there's a baseline desire for youth that's independent of everything else. That's not going to change unless human biology changes. Now, you can absolutely say that older age brings a different kind of charm, which is 100% true. But that's a whole different aspect. It doesn't cancel out the biological reality. When it comes to pure appearance, most people would still prefer and naturally drawn to more youthful, energetic look because fundamentally it speaks to vitality and fertility. So I'm not going to dwell on trying to fight the reality, okay? What really released me was acceptance. Yeah, we all age. We all follow the same circle of life. It's a natural process. And the real shift happens when we embrace it. In fact, I'm almost thankful every day now that I have the privilege to get old because not everyone has it. But back then, I didn't feel that acceptance. I felt so lost when I turned to books and podcasts. I read over 50 self-help, philosophy, psychology books in a single year. I was consuming information like my life depended on it. And the single most important thing I did during that time was curate my mind. I actively blocked out the major sources, even from people who meant well, but made me feel insecure and told me I couldn't do it. I took control of what I let into my mind. Everyone talks about doing a social media detox, but the problem wasn't really online for me. The real noise was in my head, all those doubts and fears I'd picked up from real life. The truth is, I was scared because I felt I was lost. I had no clue what I was doing with my life. And when you start changing how you think, you kind of change as a person. I started noticing my old friendship felt different. It's not that anyone was a bad person. It's just that we're moving in a different direction. I was figuring out who I wanted to be, and honestly, I didn't really know yet. So I just naturally started gravitating towards people who made me feel energized instead of drained, and people who were a little further ahead, people who I could learn from. And it wasn't some big dramatic friendship breakup. It was just me slowly finding my people while I was finding myself. And through all that reading and reflection, 3 major shifts happened and really changed everything. Had I not been in the job I disliked, I would have never been forced to look inward. I wouldn't have read all those books. Most of them are shitty, not gonna lie. That experience was the thing that gave me the clarity to understand what environment I actually need to thrive. The struggle wasn't a waste. It was a very valuable lesson. But let's be clear, my boss, my team, impeccable. All right, too good to be true. And that's why it bothered me so much when I felt I didn't like my job. I was almost blaming myself for being ungrateful. In this economy where so many people couldn't find a job, I had one with a great team, decent income, stable schedule, and it wasn't physical draining. But being in that position forced me to look inward. Eventually, I understood. I felt lost because I didn't have a clear purpose in life, and the job was just a sign of that. So I stopped feeling guilty, started paying attention to what the experience was trying to teach me about myself. The second big shift was about advice. I stopped taking everyone's advice as gospel. I realized that when people tell you what to do, they're giving you a map of their life. They're speaking from their experiences, their own fear, their values, not yours. This isn't to shame them, but to understand where they're coming from. Growing up, we're always told to listen to our seniors because they're full of wisdom, right? But I could ask two 60-year-olds the same question and get completely different answers just based on their different backgrounds. So I found a much better question to ask. Instead of asking, what should I do? I ask, which one of them do I want to be? Whose life do I actually admire? And whose path feels more like the one I want to pursue? Find that person and listen to that person. And that all leads to the final shift, and that is how I redefine what the peak is. After reaching a place of acceptance, I was finally able to see the bigger picture. I'm more mature, more grounded, and way better equipped to make decisions and create a life that I really want, and I have a sense of direction I never had before. Look, it's undeniable that I've lost a bit of collagen, and I will continue to, just like everyone else who has lived a life. It's just a fact. Now, this isn't me teaching you what to do, because what do I know? Your journey will look different from mine, and I'm just sharing my story. But here's one thing I know that we all have in common, is that our best years aren't a finish line that we cross, but rather something we built day by day and through all the confusion and the clarity. So if you're 26, or any age, and feeling terrified or stuck, I want you to know that the things that hurt you right now, the job, the insecurities, the outside noise, they are the raw materials for your transformation. It gets better. Not because life gets perfect, but because we get stronger and we get clearer. You know, as I'm writing all of this down, I can't help but wonder, is my next downfall just around the corner coming in a few years? Because that's how life works, right? You fail, you figure something out, you grow, and then you probably face something new again. But here's something I know now that I didn't know before. We're stronger than we think. We can educate ourselves and we can trust the process. I don't know who you are and I don't know where you're from. I don't care who you are. Sorry. I don't know who you are, but I know we're in this together, and let's keep building and let's grow together. Thanks for watching.